Hey, what's up, guys? Got another episode of Tuned In Sports here for you. My name is Bryson,
I'm Steve.
and we got another video coming at you about the Eagles as well as the Lions, and it's pretty exciting. Some pretty exciting news, I'd say, for both teams. It's kind of been a little bit of a swinging door in terms of the coaching staffs. Tends to happen when you got when you get a new head coach. They want to bring in their players and stuff like that. So can't say I'm surprised, but I already knew that we were going to be getting at the very least a new top three with the head coach, defensive coordinator, and offensive coordinator, and pretty much the same thing with the Lions too.
Yeah.
Are they changing their defensive coordinator too? Right. So
yeah, they already have.
Yeah. So all three. But with the Eagles, we got a new offensive coordinator, and then the Lions got a new player as well. A new coach for the defensive backs. So we'll go ahead. Let's go ahead and start with the Lions this time because I think we usually do the Eagles first. The Lions signed Aubrey Edwards to the defensive backs coach. This guy's coming over from the Rams, I believe it is, and he was with them for 3-4 seasons. And before that, he's been around in different places, and he also was in the college ranks, as well as he's another former player. So that definitely seems to be the direction that they're going with here. Which, I think it really kind of makes sense because last year, the number of times they had players leaving the Lions and stuff and bad-mouthing the coaching staff on their way out, I think they really wanted to make sure that wasn't going to be an issue this time. So I think they really are targeting player-friendly coaches and people that, can really get the respect and earn the respect of the team, because I also think that maybe that's one of the things that the previous regime had a hard time with. Is I don't know how many of the players really respected the coaching staff and gave it their all for them, because it just seemed like there was a lot of tension and I don't know.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation there, to say the least.
Yeah, so I think, going this route, it's interesting. We'll see if it pans out or not, but, can't argue with going with something different. And at least they have a clear direction, for once. It seems like there's a clear direction going on what they're trying to do. And usually a clear direction can lead to some form of success. Maybe not right away, but in the future. And I think this guy, everywhere he's gone, he's done relatively well, and he's had a lot of players that he's coached, and kind of helped groom turn into pretty good players in this league. So I think this was a quality signing, and also, really good job by the Lions at, finding somebody like that on the market and bringing him in, somebody with some experience. And not only that, but he's a Michigan guy. So he's also another person that would have the Lions' best interests at heart, you would think, because he probably grew up rooting for the team.
Yeah.
So he's going to want to give it his all to help him succeed.
Yeah.
Or at least you would presume. So.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about this hire. Bringing the new GM in from the Rams was a step in the right direction, and obviously he's got ties to some of these guys. He knows them on a personal level. So I'm sure that had played
a lot to do with.
Yeah, had played a part in him deciding to come here. Not only that, but Dan Campbell, from everything that I've seen or heard from players and such, everybody's eager to work with the guy. It seems like that he has a pulse on what what it means to be team oriented and do things together as team. And the new Lions logo, or not logo, but I don't know what you would call it, but it's one pride. And I think that's really what they want to, what they really are looking for.
A new slogan, so to speak.
Right, yeah, slogan. It's one pride. And, I, for one, I'm just so looking forward to seeing a change of how things are done in Detroit. It's been year after year of disappointment.
Faulty promises and...
Yeah, everything that we've ever done just doesn't seem to matter. I mean, it didn't matter who the coach was, doesn't matter who the GM is, this and that. It's always been just something that never seemed to make any difference what we did. But I'm really kind of excited about this new regime coming in. I think it might be a little bit different this time, hopefully. Where we need to get to is where most good teams get to, where you're not looking at new coaching staff every 2 years. You're just never going to find anything good when that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to find a coach that really wants to come there if he knows 2 years from now he's looking for work. If he's not given an opportunity to be there long enough to make changes that he wants to make and have a chance to have them implement what needs to be done, nobody wants to come there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it all starts with ownership's mindset and, changing that, and going from, just trying to make money or put butts in the seats or whatever, to actually, giving a crap about how the team actually plays and how they perform. So with that being said, it's one of those things where I'm hoping that this new regime that's in there is able to do what they want to see done, and I'm a big fan of everybody that I've heard that they've signed so far. I think it's the right move. I think you got to get player-friendly coaches in there, guys that have actually played in the league. It's easier to ask somebody to do something when they've done it themselves. And they got the mentality of, team and what that means.
Yeah, and they know what it takes to win.
Right.
And to perform at that level.
So, I mean, that's why, to me, it's everything they're doing, I'm on board with. Outside of, I hate to see Stafford leave, but, I mean, I understand it completely. And from his standpoint, I totally understand why he'd be like, oh, I don't want to sit through another, rebuild. I mean, he doesn't have that many years to sit there and go through rebuild after rebuild.
Yeah, he's played more than he has left, more than likely. So,
yeah, for sure. And I mean, he's been a tremendous player. I wish him the best. He is my favorite player, and I will continue to root him on, regardless of where he goes. And not until he leaves will the Lions truly understand of how nice of a quarterback he was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now there wasn't a whole lot of winning going on even while he was here. But if you look at the record they had when he didn't play, it was pretty much pathetic. So, he's been an important piece of the puzzle for the Lions, and it's just a shame that they never were able to put the stuff around him to make sure that they, could get victories.
Mm-hmm.
They had some offensive pieces, but they never had a defense and never had a running game. So those two things absent, you're not winning football games.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, but yeah, I mean, this Aubrey Edwards guy, I think definitely a step in the right direction. Another guy with experience, and another guy not only with experience, but experience at that job as well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's a good thing. He seems to know the coaching staff some already, at least, and I think he'll be a nice fit for the thing. as well as he's going to do some duties on the offense, I guess, as well, be the backup offensive something or other, quarterback coach or something like that. So, I mean, as far as that's concerned, I don't know how much of that he's really going to be involved in, or if that's just kind of a title that they gave him so that he can throw in his input once in a while. But I don't really know, if what his role really looks like as far as that's concerned. But nonetheless, I mean, I think it's going to end up being a pretty good thing for the Lions moving forward. And
I agree. This is the most proactive Detroit's been in a long, long time. Like, I'm totally excited about what I'm seeing. I mean, we're not wasting any time. We're getting staff hired. We're getting people in here. We're getting quality hires, which is what's important here.
Yeah.
We're not just hiring anybody that had a losing record and, can't decided to come here now.
Yeah.
We're bringing people in from winning organizations, winning programs that understand what it means and what it takes to get to the level they need to be at.
Yeah.
So if ownership gets on board with that and is ready to rock and get the right players in here, we're going to have some good seasons ahead to look forward to.
Yeah, and from what I understand too is that they're already pretty much the plan is already to move Stafford within the next week or two already as well. So I mean, even though you probably don't want to see him go, but I'm just saying if he's going to be gone anyways, let's not wait around until.
No, let's get it so we know we can get draft pick wise and that.
Yeah, let's get this stuff done with and over with so that you can move on to the next phase of your what you're going to do. And as far as that's concerned, I guess maybe that's a topic for another video, but as far as what they're going to do past Stafford, whether they should maybe look at some people that are available already, or if they should go the drafting route. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but what route they should take, I guess I should say, is kind of up in the air. And like I said, maybe that's a topic for another video on what we think they should do there. But nonetheless, I think it's important. And it's good to see that they're getting this stuff hammered in and taken care of. We're not waiting around, past the draft and things like that to figure out what we're going to do. Because, there's the other thing, even with the defense and the offense and some of these players or some of these people, it's like, if you don't even have your defensive coordinator figured out and you're trying to do the draft, well, that could be a little bit of a problem to draft defensive players because the guy that comes in, or offensive players, because the guy that come in may not want that kind of a player because he doesn't fit the system he wants to run. You know what I mean? So the way that it looks is they're going to have their coaching staff at this rate completely done.
Yep.
And then going into the draft, they've got, different people looking at it, in charge of different things, assessing talent and stuff like that. So by the time draft time rolls around, hell, by the time the Super Bowl comes, they're going to have everything pretty much ready at this rate.
Yep.
They're going to have everything set up, and they're going to be ready to go pretty quickly and get working on stuff, which they're already working on. But I'm just saying, by the time the draft comes, they're going to have a set plan in motion. They're going to have pretty much their coaching staff formed, and then it's just going to be about free agency and taking care of contracts, and assessing who needs to go, who needs to stay, and going from there. But I think it looks like they actually are really, really making an effort to make something happen. And this is actually kind of what I expected to see a little bit more of last year, when Patricia and Quinn knew that if they didn't make the playoffs, they were going to be out, and it kind of seemed like, even with that being said, they still kind of sat with their tail between their legs a little bit and just like, we'll let it play out. I didn't get the impression that they were really taking the action necessary to ensure that they were going to be able to stick around. Mm-hmm. Just kind of seemed like they were okay with what they had, and instead of taking the initiative to get better. And this already feels, pretty much 100% different than what that was. I mean, this feels like a coaching staff and a ownership or a general management group or whatever you want to call it that is intent on getting things done.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, that doesn't always equal winning, and it doesn't necessarily mean 2 years from now we're going to see him in the Super Bowl. I mean, I'll just put it this way: this hasn't probably been the first time that Dad has sat here and said, "Boy, I kind of like the direction things are going right now." I mean, it is still the Lions, and they have a history of screwing things up. But yeah, let's take this opportunity. We'll transition into the Eagles, and as far as the Eagles are concerned, they've now made a decision with their head coach. They also made a decision with the offensive coordinator. And they also, for the most part, I think it's pretty well set in stone on their defensive coordinator. But we're going to wait to do that video just to make sure, because it hasn't been officially, confirmed yet. But it's pretty much all but set on what's going to happen there. So we'll go ahead and talk about the move that they did make, though, which is signing their new offensive coordinator, Mr.
Steichen?
Yeah,
Steichen?
Steichen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steichen, I believe, is his name. And as far as that's concerned, I don't know really too much about him either. Shane Steichen from the Chargers, but all the things that I've heard about him have been pretty positive, actually. And a lot of people, and a lot of things that I've read is that he was one of the people that was really working with the quarterbacks and stuff. And obviously, in Mr. Herbert's first year, he did some pretty nice things. so,
Yeah.
so as far as that's concerned, I like this move. I think it's a good one, and I can understand why that they would want this guy to come over and be the offensive coordinator. The one thing that I will say is, again, a lot like I said with the head coach, this definitely shows you exactly what the Eagles are trying to address right now and what they are trying to make happen, which is they want Carson Wentz to still be the guy moving forward, and they are trying to do everything that they can to get him back on track to what he was doing before this past season.
Right.
It's quite clear at this point that is what they are attempting to do.
Yeah.
Because they're bringing in all of these guys that have either worked with guys that have worked with him in the past or specialize in quarterback growth and stuff like that, or work hand in hand with quarterbacks. I mean, they're just doing all this different stuff to try to help him progress, which I can appreciate that because, at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to probably get rid of him. His trade value right now is not good because of how he played last season. And so as a result of that, unless we were to get some sucker team, like the Texans or something, to just trade for him for whatever reason, then we're not going to be able to probably move him. So as opposed to the alternative of having him sitting around on the bench and doing nothing, I want to see him out there. And I also don't believe, like I said in the videos before, that he's incapable of being the quarterback of this team. So with that being said, let's find out. And I feel like that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
With these hires. They're saying, let's find out if he's still got it and last year was just an off year, or if he's just not going to be the guy moving forward, and then we can decide what we need to do from there. But at the end of the day, at first I was kind of like, I mean, I get it, but I was kind of hoping that we would go maybe not a different direction from Wentz because I'm a fan of his. But I'm just saying, I was kind of hoping we go a different direction in than what we went with the hires that we made. But at the end of the day, everything I've heard has been pretty overwhelmingly positive in terms of what people think about the hire of the head coach. And as far as this guy's concerned, I haven't heard too much because it was just announced not too long ago. But I do think that it's the right move, and I think it's a plus, not a minus.
Right.
At the end of the day, I really am happy too that we have an offensive coordinator because we tried the head coach calling the plays last year, and that was a disaster. That was just horrible. So we need an offensive coordinator and a head coach and a defensive coordinator all working in unison, and that will hopefully at least be better than last year.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a step in the right direction. And like we said with the Lions, this is another situation where I really feel like it's about, I mean, I want to see them doing this stuff now so that come draft time, we've got our guys in set and we're ready to figure out what we need to do. If Carson Wentz is staying and he's going to be the guy, then let's protect him. And let's really work on establishing a running game and things of that nature.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because, I mean, honestly, I feel like on both sides of the ball, we're not horrible. I mean, even the offensive line, I know that he gets sacked a lot, but, even with the offensive line, there's some playmakers on there if they stay healthy.
Yeah.
But, injuries have been an issue, obviously. And defensively, the defensive line, there are a lot of good players on there. Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, both of those guys are, obviously Fletcher Cox. He's been Fletcher Cox since he first came in the league. Perennial Pro Bowler. That guy is great. But, Derek Barnett, I really like what I'm seeing from him. And there's even some other people on the line that I think are pretty good players as well. And then, even going into the linebackers, I like Alex Kendrick, and I like some other players as well. So all I'm trying to say is that I like players on both sides of the ball. I don't think it's not like, I don't think it's a situation where we're miles away from being good on both sides.
Yeah.
Hell, a season ago, we were in the top 10 in defense a season ago.
Yeah.
And on offense, until this year, we weren't too bad there either. So it's not as if this team is incapable of doing anything. I think really what it comes down to is that last year, between injuries and COVID and different stuff, things they didn't play to their potential. And then I don't think the coach helped. But I don't think that we lack talent or anything like that. So all I'm saying is that I like kind of the idea that we have here where we're bringing in people and we're saying we have a clear direction and now we can focus on the draft and know this is who's going to be doing this, this is who's going to be doing that. How do we give them the best chance to succeed?
Right.
And I feel like with the right mindset and the right game planning, we can easily get there. And the other thing is by bringing in that guy from the Colts, like I said in the other video, you've got this guy that worked under Frank Reich for at least a season, if not more. And he is familiar with Frank Reich's system, which Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator when we won the Super Bowl under Doug Peterson. So you're also not completely abandoning what we have. So really, it's kind of like a plug and play kind of thing, because this guy's going to come in, and my guess is the system will be similar. So we already have the weapons and stuff that fit the system. It's not like, okay, well, this guy's coming in and he wants to do a power rushing attack, so we don't have anybody that's good for power rushing, so we need to blow it up. I mean, at least I'm not presuming that's going to be the case. I'm presuming he's going to take the weapons and stuff that we have and kind of implement the same offensive strategies and stuff to where we don't really have to go out and find new pieces to fit the system. We already pretty much have it. It's just going to be about coaching them up and getting them to play to their potential. And that's how you don't just blow it up and rebuild every time and go through a mess of crap for years. That's how you can, keep progressing forward and add on to what you have and stuff like that. So from that standpoint, I really like this. Mm-hmm. Even though initially I was kind of like, I don't know about that. But, again, last year was standing, or this season was standing, I guess, since it's not over. This season was standing. We had pretty good offense and defense. It's just this year was a really bad showing. But beyond that, though, I mean, it wasn't a situation where we were absolutely horrendous for years. It was only 1 year that we really struggled.
Yeah. I'm with you in that if you're an Eagles fan right now, you got to be happy that they're taking care of this stuff in short order, and they're not waiting to make all these moves until it's too close to the draft to where they can't have an impact in what's going to be brought in there. The sooner the better, in terms of, the direction of the organization is going to go in. The coaching staff, let this new coach get his staff in there that he wants.
Yeah.
While people are still, fresh, just getting off other jobs, are going to be eager to find something new. And I have no doubt in my mind that this guy will be able to get, the coaching staff that he would like. He's probably got a lot of ties with different teams, and probably knows a lot of coaches just from, being in the coaching ranks. So, and the Eagles are usually a team that's really proactive in trying to fill holes the best that they can with, through free agency and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I see it like you do. I don't really see this as a reboot situation or a rebuild. I see this as we're going to pick up where we are, get people healthy, and move forward. And because you're probably right. They're not too far away from having everything they need.
Yeah.
I also like what you said about, building it through, fix the areas that will allow Wentz to be successful. Mm-hmm. And that starts with, like Dosa Dion talks about on the Lions all the time, let's get a running game and let's get a defense. You have those two things, you have a team. Mm-hmm. Your quarterback doesn't have to be Pat Mahomes to win a Super Bowl.
No.
He doesn't.
No.
You know that all too well. Nick Foles is not anywhere near Pat Mahomes' level. But he was the right guy for the job when it mattered then. Uh-huh. Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those cases where, and I agree with Dosa Dion on this. I mean, he talks about constantly about the importance of the running game and the defense. If you got those two things, you can do that. Otherwise, you end up squandering talent like we did with Stafford.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but not only do we need a running game and that stuff, because I feel like we even have a good set of running backs. What we really need is an offensive line to open holes, and we need a coach that is going to stick to it, not just abandon the things that work and say, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just going to throw it around. I mean, we need a coach that's going to stick to the running game and be committed to it. And that's the same thing with the Lions, because over the years, I don't think that they've had a lack of talent in the running back position. It's just the coach never, or coaches in some instances, have never really said, we are going to run the football. It just seems like they're like, oh, we're going to try running, and then if it doesn't work out initially, we're just going to throw it nonstop because we have a quarterback that can do that. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I think that kind of mindset is part of why Wentz took a step back this past season, because they had him throwing 48 plus times. Yeah. And it's like, well, when he's struggling, what do you think having him take even more pass attempts than he otherwise would be is going to do? You think that's going to help? No. Probably not. I mean, it's not necessarily like the NBA where, just keep shooting and eventually you'll find a rhythm. Well, it's hard to get in a rhythm because when 3 plays later, you're sitting on the bench. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you're not converting first downs, you're on the bench. You're not still out there. The defense is out there. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't work the same way there. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, all I'm saying is I would like to see a coach, like he said, that runs the ball and that gets our defense back where it needs to be. I don't believe the defense was the problem last year, even though statistics-wise they were like 30th. So obviously they weren't good. But I'm just saying a lot of that is situational. With the struggles that the offense had, the defense, I can't imagine there was hardly any games where we won the time of possession. And there was a lot of games where our defense was out there all day long, or at least all day long in the first half. Right. And then if we came back in the second, then maybe it managed to even out. But in the first half especially, I can't imagine time of possession would look too good for us, especially in the games I watched. It was not good generally. Yeah. So, all I'm saying is I want to see those things addressed, but I want to see a clear direction, and I see that here, and I want to see a coaching staff that, like he always talks about, coaches the players, coaches the coaches, doesn't try to do, oh, well, I'm just going to do it. You know what I mean? Because saying I'm just going to do it got us into a mess last year. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I see. And I even, Doug Peterson, he did some other things that caused me to not like him as a coach. But I do believe that if he would have had an offensive coordinator doing some of that stuff, I think he would have been a better coach overall of the team. Mm-hmm. But because he was doing offensive coordinating, calling plays, and head coaching stuff, I think it just was so much to juggle that each of the areas kind of squandered a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I feel like we don't have that issue now. And so I'm really excited to see what we're going to look like, because I think these pieces are a step in the right direction. Now, one thing I did want to say, as far as offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator and these different things, there was a comment that Don made in one of the Dent Sports videos where he was talking about, you can't really have stability at the offensive and defensive coordinator positions, because as soon as those guys start performing well, they're getting head coaching opportunities and they're leaving the team. Mm-hmm. So the head coach, that's why it's so important that the head coach can coach the coaches and put his systems in place so that these people can come in here and just work under the system, but he doesn't have to micromanage them or just take it over. He can just show them the system, and then they can operate underneath it.
Right.
as opposed to running the whole thing himself. Because you're always, very rarely are you going to have a situation where there's a dynamite offensive coordinator and he has just this incredible season and he's still there. I mean, hell, if we're looking at my team specifically, no greater example than Alabama. You know what I mean? Literally, they are replacing their offensive and defensive coordinators pretty much every other year. If it's not one, it's the other. You know what I mean? No greater example. If they're not replacing the offensive guy, they're replacing the defensive guy. Because
but here's the thing, though, with that. Is those coordinators that are getting taken, it's because you're winning.
Yeah.
It's not because you're losing.
Yep.
So
exactly.
If we're in a position where we're losing coordinators, hallelujah.
Yeah. No,
Okay?
I agree.
Same with you. Hallelujah. Let it happen.
No.
Take all my coordinators. That means we're actually winning games now.
No, I agree. No,
So,
that's exactly right.
You're
You're losing them to other teams, not because they were fired and.
Right. We're not losing coaches because they suck and these teams want to bring their teams down to where our level is.
Yeah.
They're bringing them there because they,
No,
they're
I
doing
agree.
something right.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, from that perspective, it's an important thing to note what Don was talking about because, these people that come in here, who knows this guy for the Chiefs, Steichen, he could be a very nice fit, but if he's too great a fit, he'll probably be gone before too long. So I think it's nice for this year to put us in the right direction, and I think this will help us go in the right direction. And already, I think the mess that Doug Peterson left us in with the way things happened at the end of the season is cleared up a little bit. And that's one thing already that I like that I'm seeing is it doesn't seem like if he would have stick around, we were going to be in a total mess.
Yeah.
But the way that he's going about it, it seems as though this new coach has a clear direction. And I think that's something that a lot of people were upset about at the end of last season because it seemed like with the way he was coaching and stuff, we had no clear direction. It was just a jumbled mess, and we had no idea what the hell was going on. And now this new regime already has fixed that. Yep. And I honestly feel like the only way that was going to happen was by firing the coach. Mm-hmm. And so that's why, another reason why I am in full support of that taking place. Because without that taking place, I think our organization is in a complete mess. Mm-hmm. Still. No matter what he says now. Because his actions have already spoken louder than the words.
Yeah.
So, great. You know what I mean? I'm already on board with this. And in general, I feel like if these guys can come in and do the things that we talked about and also figure out some roster spots as well. Like, the general manager really needs to figure out what's going on with some of these people. If you want Zach Ertz on the team, then I want him on the team. And I want him contracted, and I don't want him being thrown around in trade rumors. Because if he's constantly thrown around in trade rumors, why is he going to put out his best effort for your team when there's a good chance he won't be on it? You know what I mean? And so that's why I say, I want to see some stability in that area too. You don't ever hear from a team like the Chiefs or the Browns, the Steelers, or some of these teams, you don't ever hear in the middle of the season stuff about, this player is probably going to be getting traded. If anything, they may be, they might be released after the season is over. But you don't ever hear talk about some of the better players on the Chiefs potentially being traded mid-season. You never hear that. And the reason why is because, first of all, they do a good job of figuring out who they need to fit their system, and they put the pieces in place and the pieces fit. And so they don't need to replace anybody because the people they bring in are what they're looking for. So why would they get rid of them? Right?
No, well, plus they're focused on winning a championship.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Not focused on what draft position they're going to have.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's it too. But, I mean, I'm just saying, some of these teams, you never hear about this kind of stuff during the season because they know it's a distraction.
Yeah.
And I feel like my team, especially last year, I mean, there was just distractions all over the place. And then,
Nothing
you know,
but distractions.
and speaking of which, and then some of them were self-caused with the coach and stuff. And then speaking of which, Alshon Jeffrey, same ordeal. What are we doing with him? Because targeting him once or twice a game is a waste of his contract. So if that's going to happen, I just assume we cut him and move on or trade him. But if we've been trying to trade him, either we've been doing a horrible job at it or nobody's interested. So just take your loss. Either that or commit to making him a part of the offense moving forward. Because doing it the way that they had it when he came back from injury last year, that ain't going to work. Something needs to be done there. So, I mean, there's a lot of positions where it's the same thing. And, I mean, Jason Peters, same thing. It's like, well, you know, he's been a great player for us for a very long time, but he's getting up there in age. Last season, you know, he was more injured probably just about as often as he wasn't. And, you know, he's a free agent now. So is he going to go elsewhere? Do you want him to come back? If you do, let's make that happen. If you don't, then let's let that happen as well.
Right.
Let's not, you know, sit on the fence with these people. Let's figure out, and just like I said in the Dent Sports video, I don't want this to go on too much longer, but just to wrap it up, just like I said in the Dent Sports video, just like I said in the Dent Sports video, I don't want a whole bunch of, I totally forgot what I was going to say. Damn. But, yeah, I mean, I really like the direction that we're going so far, what I'm seeing, and I hope that this continues. But at the end of the day, I want to see some clear moves, and then I also want to see people come in here that are not just going to come in and take over and do what they want to do, but utilize the pieces that we already have. Right. Because at the end of the day, I don't feel like this is a roster that is without talent. I just feel like a lot of the times in games that I watched, which if you watch the reviews, you'll hear me say this a lot, I feel like a lot of times the talent was misused last season. And that goes from the quarterback to the running back to the wide receivers to the tight ends. I mean, there's a host of people that I feel were not used in the correct way. And therefore, it didn't work. But that doesn't mean that we're without talent.
Yep.
So, yeah. And then the other thing is, like we talked about also before, is, you know, when it comes to the draft and these other things, don't force something that doesn't need to happen just because you feel like this person is the best player or whatever, so it would be foolish not to take him. Draft for our needs. Figure out what the needs are. You've had a whole season. Oh, that's what I was going to say before. Like I said in the Dent Sports video, this season, because of how bad we were and how things panned out and the injuries, really was kind of a blessing in disguise. Because you saw guys out there that probably should not have been. But you really kind of got a feel for, okay, who can really play here? Because a lot of guys were seeing a ton of minutes due to injuries and stuff. Mm-hmm. So you really kind of got to feel like, okay, wow, this guy, he stepped up. Okay, this guy, he kind of didn't impress us. It was almost like a 17-game preseason, just like I said in the Dent Sports video. So, use that. You had a whole season to assess talent because you saw just about everybody on the damn roster with the injuries we had. We even saw all the quarterbacks we had with Sudfeld getting in there in the last game. So, anyway, you already know what kind of talent we have. Figure out who needs to stay, take care of the contracts, bring in people that can help, fit the system, and work on what we already have going on as opposed to completely abandoning what we have and, saying we need to blow it up and replace at every position. Because we don't. We just need to figure out how the people we have can best be utilized. And if that can happen, I feel like we could see a very quick turnaround from what we were last year to what we could be this season.
Yep.
We could see a very quick turnaround. I'm not saying going from last season to we're back into the Super Bowl. I mean, and that goes the same for the Lions, with all the moves and stuff we're seeing and a lot of great things. That doesn't mean that they're headed to the Super Bowl this year, but it just is a far cry better than what we saw last season and a step in the right direction. Because last season, all we did was take step after step after step in the wrong direction. And it just, by the end, it was just...
manifest itself into something bigger than you're going to be able to fix.
Exactly. But these moves that I'm seeing from my team and his team are steps that tell me we're tired of being in an endless cycle of crap, and we're tired of just, spinning our wheels and just going nowhere. Right. This looks like finally we've got our feet planted in the ground. We're not in a tailspin. Our feet are planted in the ground, and we're ready to go forward. Right. And if that happens, great. Yep. Awesome. Yep. But if it doesn't, then I'm not going to say if it doesn't happen this year because, first of all, we still got some things to figure out, for one. For two, we've got a hellacious schedule this year as well. We are playing we are playing every team that's been involved in the Super Bowl in the last 2 years are on our schedule. And even pretty much farther back than that too, probably. We've got a horrible schedule. And and then it also doesn't help that, the team that we play that's fourth in the NFC West is the 49ers. But that was only because of injuries. Right. So this season will be a whole different Niners team. Yep. And that's going to be, if they weren't injured, they would not have probably finished fourth in that division.
No, they could have easily won.
And even if they did, that's only because that division is stacked. So just having to play it, the fourth team in that division is no cupcake. No matter who it is. Right. You know what I mean? Even if it's Arizona. If Arizona is the worst team in that division...
They were only there because of injuries.
Yeah, exactly.
Not because they didn't...
No, exactly.
That team was a Super Bowl team the year before, so...
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the year before that, the Rams, or 2 years or whatever, the Rams were in the Super Bowl. And a few years back, the Seahawks were. And the Cardinals are only going forward. So there's no easy... But all I'm saying is, this year is going to be tough because of our scheduling. But with that being said... there are things that could be improved without the record getting that much better. That could easily fix itself overnight. And if they do get fixed, and some of these coaching mistakes and stuff, and some of the play of our better players improves, we were also involved in a Super Bowl not too many years ago.
Right.
So the talent is there. And, I know it's a lot of new pieces from when the Super Bowl was, but there's still some of the same pieces there. Yep. And the same systems and stuff. So this team is not incapable of winning anything. We could get back to that form without too much happening. But we need to focus on the right areas, and we need to get clear direction, and we need to really address certain things in the off season and get it fixed. And the other thing is, actually, this will be the last thing before we end this. Something that we've talked about before. I don't think we've maybe mentioned it too much on the channel, but this offseason, there's going to be a ton of free agents available due to the cap situation. If we have a chance to get a number one receiver, now I realize there's been a lot of talks with us getting Devontae Smith from Alabama in the draft. And I personally would not be opposed to that, because at the end of the day, if we get him and he ends up being a bust, I can live with drafting the Heisman winner and him not panning out. You know what I mean? Because he won the damn Heisman. So as far as that is concerned, that means you don't get any better than that. If he does not pan out, oh well. But we went with the Heisman Trophy winner. He won the Heisman for a reason. So if we do that and he doesn't pan out, well, that's just unfortunate. But I am not going to sit here and argue with that decision, though. I'm going to say absolutely, if you have a chance to get the Heisman Trophy winner in a position that you could use some help in, absolutely take him. And if it doesn't work out, oh well. You know, or if he's just okay, well, okay then. But absolutely take him. But if you're not going to have a chance to get him, like I said, with all the cap issues and stuff and tons of free agents available, go after a number one receiver, a true number one star caliber receiver. Go after one, even if you have to overpay. I don't care. Get somebody like that, and get somebody where you know if the game's on the line, you can throw it to this person, and it gets somebody where it's time on fourth down, everyone knows where the ball's going to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get one of those guys. And Zach Ertz kind of was that guy for a while, but then, you know, it's kind of turned into a mess last year. But I'm just saying, get one of those receivers, because at the end of the day, you have somebody like that, that fixes a whole hell of a lot of other problems for you in other areas. I mean, you have a guy like DK Metcalf, you know, he can make up for deficiencies in other areas, just how good he is. He can make an average quarterback look great. Hell, just look at, you know, I mean, I hate to use this example, but look at what OBJ was able to do with Eli Manning. I mean, I definitely don't think Eli Manning was an elite quarterback or anything like that, but, you know, he was able to put up numbers with OBJ, and some of the, you know, incredible catches that OBJ made wasn't necessarily because he just decided that he wanted to do something fancy. It's because the ball wasn't placed where it needed to be, so he had to do all this extra work to make the catch. You know what I mean? It's like, well, if the ball was placed where it should have been, he wouldn't have had to do a one-handed grab. You know what I mean? So all I'm saying is get somebody like that, whether it be drafting Devontae Smith and seeing how that works out, or going out and either trading or something. Like, for instance, Michael Thomas might be available, the guy from the Saints. Get him. Bring him over.
Yep.
That would be perfect. Julio Jones. Bring him in. I don't care if he's older. Bring him in. AJ Green. Don't care if he's older. Bring him in. You know, the list goes on and on, but I'm just saying, bring in these people.
Yep.
So, anyways, with that being said, guys, thank you guys for watching this video. If you like what you see, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. Check out our other content, our other NFL stuff. For other football news revolving around the Eagles and the Lions, there's been quite a few coaching changes amongst our two teams, and we've actually had quite a few videos talking about this different stuff, because both of our teams more specifically his, but both of our teams, for the most part, have actually been relatively active since the off season began. So there's been quite a bit to talk about. So if you want to hear our thoughts on those different things that happened, make sure you go back and check out those videos. But anyways, with that being said, my name is Bryson.
I'm Steve.
See you guys in the next video.